Hello everyone, this is part 27 of What If Naruto Failed and Chose a Different Path, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and to like, to subscribe, to share, and check out the playlist, to see more comment down below. Now let's start the intro.
They call me a god. They call me a god. They call me a god.
Join my membership, the perks are great. It's in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe, it gives me more motivation. Enjoy. Throughout, Konoha battles were getting fierce. Konoha's Leaf Shinobi were fighting the combined force of Sand and Sound Ninja, with half its forces fighting the offensive while the other half of its forces made sure that the civilian populace got to safety in the catacombs within the Great Hokage Monument. The students within Konoha's Ninja Academy were escorted by their Chunin teachers, who took the less dangerous route even though it was the longer path taken. Konohamaru was nervous along with the kids because they had never understood the sounds of the fighting with the explosions and thought it was some festival involving the exams. Such thoughts were stopped when two teams of Sound Ninja surrounded the group ready to annihilate them. "What do you want to do with these bratses, sir?" said a Chunin Sound Ninja to his Junin squad leader. "All those who don't fight back and those who do I want restrained to take back to Sound Village so Orochimaru-sama can experiment on them," said the Junin squad leader with the added support of the second group. "Konohamaru, I'm scared we can't fight them." "Will be said," said Mogi while the Chunin teachers tensed knowing this was not good. Just as the Sound Ninja were about to advance, a huge wind tornado came out of nowhere and consumed the Sound Ninja. The strange phenomenon sent them spinning around and around inside of it, eventually spitting out one or two at a time. After some time they were from hitting boulders to being impaled by tree branches when they hit such objects at a high velocity. "Well now me little shinobi munchkins, I hope you enjoyed me little display," said Jin, appearing with a smile on his face while waving at them, all the while reminding Iruka strangely of Naruto with his fox-like smile. "Who are you?" said one of the Chunin teachers, not sure whether to trust the new figure before them, knowing never to trust something at first glance. "Name's Jin, the Wind Master. Friend of Naruto I am and ally to you," said Jin, as he was currently floating in midair, Indian style, much to the kids' astonished enjoyment. "Wait, you are a friend of Naruto's?" said Iruka, wondering why he hadn't seen this guy around before and why he felt this guy was more than he appeared, besides the whole floating in the air thing. "You doubt the infamous Wind Master, I see. I am a good friend to Naruto as I be floating in the air before you. Now if you teachers and your toddlers don't mind, I have to go back to the fighting." "Oh, I haven't had this much fun in fighting since I was in the last demon tournament Urameshi created," said Jin, flying off, making the kids go, well, while the adults paled when they heard the words, demon tournament. With Tuya. Tuya had earned two names since being a demon shinobi. One was his title, an Ice Master, and number two was Bloody Ice. Why? Because whenever Tuya had ever cared with his ice powers, the ice would be so deeply stained in blood the clear form of the crystal ice he made would turn red entirely. Right now Tuya was focusing his chakra into his hands as he lay in wait of the shadows of the dark alley where his prey would soon pass him. He placed the demonic chakra-focused hand on the ground and channeled it into the street area past the alley to the one across from him. "Demonic Ice Art, Ice Spike Jutsu," whispered Tuya before releasing the sly attack on the unsuspecting Sand Ninja, who saw the rare sight, for them, of ice for the first and last time. Not a pretty sight overall, but then again when is being impaled by hundreds of ice spikes that come up from the earth pretty, thought Tuya before making a subbing ice weapon and moved in on an unsuspecting Sound Ninja, who got lost from his group and espied him from behind. Outside Konoha's walls. When Sand Ninja had summoned the massive multi-head snake, they assumed that victory over Konoha would be certain, but when their snake was soon incinerated by a dark fire in the shape of a dragon, they knew they were in trouble. "What was that?" said a Sand Junin, who had watched over the summoning of the giant snake. "Don't know, but I don't want to." "Ah," said another Sand Ninja, only to be SD in half vertically. "What the hell?" said another Sand Ninja, only to be silenced with the removal of his head from his end, sending a fountain of blood to rise from the spot that it was once supported on. "Where is it said the first Sand Junin, only to find sword-sized hole where his heart was before he lost the top half of his head before everything went black. Hiei made quick work out of the rest of the group of Sand Ninja and loved every moment of his artwork, but it was even better when he got to K ignorant and stupid humans that were without honor. When the detective hears about what I'm doing, he is going to be so envious that he couldn't join in, thought Hiei, smirking, knowing that Yusuke loved a good fight and hated missing them with a passion equally as much as Hiei. With Kurama. Kurama was outside of Kohono in a thick forest region of one of the gates, waiting to take a large force of sound ninja by surprise with the seeds he had planted ahead of schedule. However, for this to work, Kurama had to transform into his legendary demonic persona that was Yoko Kurama, the King of Thieves. It wasn't that he minded the transformation, since he made peace with himself so many years ago after the first demon tournament had taken place. The problem was that he was a demon fox, and Kohono hated demon foxes whether they were good or bad, seeing how his cousin had done quite number on him in his giant fox-like form over a decade ago. It can't be helped, I suppose, given the circumstances, said Kurama as he focused on concentrating his chakra, making it turn from blue to the of red before it consumed him, making him taller, have claws, silver hair, and fox-like appendages while he was wearing the white clothing he always wore in this state. About 15 minutes after the transformation happened, the now brought out Yoko Kurama sensed his prey approach and smiled to him. It's time to make multiple precise KS, thought Yoko Kurama, snapping his fingers before his demonic Venus fly trap came up from the ground, grabbing and devouring them easily after hearing their screams along with sensing their movements with the vibrations they made in the process. In Kohono, Gaara was having a great time at the moment now that he was out of the infirmary at the stadium to do his part in defending his new home. To him it was the first time in his life he truly enjoyed King without any psychotic influence from a third party in his head. He remembered some of these sand ninja, both Junin and Chunin, always giving him all of those hateful stares and the whispers of monster, freak, and demon when he was younger. The assassination attempts on his life didn't help either, although there had been moments where he would admit only to himself that not being able to sleep at night helped him to some degree. Only some. Terra was having a rocking good time, pun intended on her part, as she sent wave after wave of rocks, dirt, and chunks of building upon her foes, aiming for lethal or CSP-ling attacks upon them. Man, I haven't had this much fun in a long time, thought Terra, making two walls appear parallel to each other appear in front and behind a combined group of sand and sound ninja before making a splatter sandwich out of it, blood and all the trimmings of crushed bones with it. Kohono Stadium cage stands. Sarutobi removed his cage robes and was now dressed in his ninja attire, already on the move towards his opponent that was his former pupil. Shuriken Shadow Clone Jutsu, said Sarutobi, sending a shuriken at Orochimaru that soon turned into many, heading like the original to their intended target. Orochimaru was a man of many talents, with one of his most famous being a master of using forbidden jutsus that involved being the natural balance of time and death. His next technique would be one of them. Summoning, impure world resurrection, said Orochimaru, going through hand signs before activating the forbidden jutsu. Hokage was startled by this jutsu, knowing it was forbidden for a reason, and feared the worst, knowing what was being summoned. The shuriken and its cloned brothers were immediately blocked by a pair of golden-colored coffins with the words, first, and, second, on each coffin, while a third one with the word, fourth, on it, making the old Hokage that was Sarutobi mentally panic. I must stop the last coffin from rising before it's too late, thought Sarutobi, preparing to stop the final part by using his technique neutralize jutsu, but was stopped by Slade. Don't. I want Orochimaru to summon the fourth Hokage. Trust me, said Slade with an evil glint in his eye that made the third suspicious, but decide to trust the Demon Lord for the moment. When the summoning was complete, much to Orochimaru's joy and slight curiosity at what Slade said, the coffin lids fell down, revealing all three previous Hokages. Slowly the three legendary Hokage of the village stepped out of their respected coffins and looked at the old man and Slade. Sarutobi-san, you look so old, said the first Hokage, looking at Sarutobi with a slightly curious look on his face, well, as much as a former Hokage can create. Who is that one next to you? Have you taken on another student at your age? Said the second before he and the first looked behind themselves to see Orochimaru. It's been a long time, Slade-san, my old friend. How is my son? I trust you are taking good care of him, said the fourth, his body looking slightly fresher than his other two summons since he was only buried nearly 13 years ago. Hello Arashi. Your son is well and strong. Though I am the one to unfortunately tell you this, the villagers have not honored your wish in seeing the boy as a hero. Quite the opposite actually, and have tried to kill him on multiple occasions. Even on his birthday, said Slade, seeing Arashi's face twitch in a fashion of surprise, horror, and anger. The council, said Arashi, as if the question spoke some secret meaning. Yes, said Slade, his answer making the fourth Hokage face move into something that looked like a deformed, which it was, snarl. Enough of this sickening family reunion between the five of you fools. It is time to take what is mine from you, Sarutobi, your life. Said Orochimaru, holding 3 kunai with special tags with seals on them in his hands. Slade's fire-covered right hand moved quicker than Orochimaru could have possibly seen and soon found himself holding only 2 tags with the one in his left hand now burned away. Sorry, but Arashi will not be used as your puppet for this fight to beat Sarutobi or myself for that matter, said Slade, his flame-covered right hand stretched out like he had thrown something at the Sannin. Orochimaru was livid. The seal tags on the kunai were designed to be used on people you summoned, and no one seal was the same. One was for the first, another for the second, and the last one that Slade destroyed was for the fourth Hokage. No matter, you stupid demon fox, for you see, even without Arashi helping me, I can still have his and Sarutobi sensei's predecessors do it for me. Plus, I doubt even you can handle 3 cage-level shinobis without coming out of this unscathed, said Orochimaru, smiling, knowing that his old sensei would fall whether Slade helped or not. Please. The only reason I was sealed was my rage was unstable and created unnaturally because of you. Also my power, my full power makes everyone here seem like genin in comparison, said Slade, smirking with his one eye narrowing slightly. You a lying demon, said Orochimaru, thinking that the demon was bluffing and that his power, though great, was not that great before he put his remaining 2 kunai in the back of each of the previous Hokages. Demons do not lie unless it's absolutely necessary. In this case, it's not. Now let's make things interesting and get Arashi on our side, right Hokage-sama? Said Slade, making both Orochimaru and the third Hokage look at him as if he were crazy. How? The tag seal attached to the kunai were destroyed mere moments ago by you of all people. You cannot control him any more than I can now, said Orochimaru, as his new subordinates became more lifelike, but with a slightly glazed look in their eyes that if anyone saw said they were not responding of their own free wills. You underestimate the powers of the Orochimaru. One thing that humans and even demons should never do. Behold, said Slade, taking the urn in his left and holding it outstretched, raising it slightly until it was above his head. What's that? Said Orochimaru before he saw patterns of complex seals appear on the urn, spreading all around it, glowing a mixture orange, black, and red. The power of the said Slade, as the urn pulsed quickly, followed by Arashi doing the same, and the two seemed to glow a strange color Orochimaru nor Sarutobi had seen before. With Naruto's Gatetsu struck a sand ninja before spinning and using his ice Rasengan in his right hand to freeze and then blow up a sound ninja, who had tried to get in a lucky shot with a kunai. He had gone into the more battle-hardened area of Konoha that were under the control of sand, sound, and out off or both at the same time. The young genin saw they had taken several people hostage to take back later to sound for experimenting on, though Naruto could tell that the sand disliked it to some degree, though didn't mind it being the people of Konoha that were used. Disliking anyone being used as a lab rat regardless of who they were, Naruto struck with a fury that could only be called demonic, with all the puns and irony in it fully intended. He surprised attacked them with his Earth Spike Jutsu. He found the scroll hidden in one his father's scroll holders at home, and after reading it learned that it sent a single spike towards an intended target if you stared at him, and if you maintained one-way eye contact long enough to complete the seals, was the perfect assassination tool needed when the enemies are unsuspecting and near the hostages you intend to free. They did not even know what hit them, thought Naruto before using the outright confusion of the now sound ninja, who was watching over the unconscious group of civilians. Before they knew what happened, Naruto got his sword out and started slaying them with the style Hiei originally taught him in Demon World. With his speed and skill he easily ended many lives in mere moments, and for the more difficult one he changed stances in mid-motion to the Gatetsu stance and attacked King his unsuspecting foes in a single strike. When it was all over he summoned several toads and foxes roughly the size of horses and ordered them to take them to a safety zone. When they left, Naruto took 3 steps and stopped, feeling something was happening back in the arena with a presence he had not felt since. Mother, said Naruto, running with all the speed he could with his sword in his left, ready to use the Gatetsu in a moment's notice when he reached his destination. Kohono Stadium cage stands. Orochimaru was afraid of only one thing and one thing's only. Death. It seemed ironic and fitting that his very fear becomes his enemy once more as the ground around him shook with the strength of a miniature earthquake. The urn in Slade's hand was now pulsating and giving off power all around it while the body of the fourth Hokage Kazama Arashi was pulsing and stirring as well. What is this sorcery? Said Orochimaru, seeing even his two possessed and Hokage puppets were backing away as well. I told you, Sannin. This is the power of the S, yelled Slade, now placing his left hand carefully behind the urn before the intense power that was being generated by the golden-colored container shot forward, hitting the intended target that was the body of the fourth Hokage. Slade, what are you doing? Yelled Sarutobi, shielding his eyes, as the power generating from the urn was too bright to look at. Brining back an old friend, said Slade, though it was barely hearable the Hokage, as a growing sound wave kept getting stronger and stronger with each passing second. At this point the sound four that were Orochimaru's hand-picked bodyguards that had created the purple light prison were currently beyond scared. Why? Cracks had appeared in their barrier-like glass against the strain of a heavy sound-waved blast. This can't be happening, thought the sound four at the same time. When the light left and the sound wave stopped before reaching its peak and destroying the barrier the sound four created, everyone gasped at what they saw. How can this be? Thought Orochimaru, gritting his teeth in frustration at what he had witnessed. Kazama Arashi was alive in the realm of the living once more. The said man cracked his end left to right before moving his arms, and legs, and feet experimentally as if to see for himself if this is real. Whoa, said Arashi, smiling at Slade while Sarutobi could only look on with amazement. Indeed. As I told Naruto, the power of a mother's, or this case wife's, love is a force to be reckoned with that should not be taken lightly, said Slade, putting the urn safely away in the only place no one could steal it, in Naruto's mindscape. K them, yelled Orochimaru, finding himself in quite bind. You must deal with Orochimaru yourself, Sarutobi, and put your personal demons to rest while me and Arashi do the same with your predecessors, said Slade, who looked to his old friend, who nodded in agreement. Thank you, said Sarutobi before summoning Enma the Monkey King to this battle. So you finally summoned me to deal with the snake after all these years, my old friend. You should have cared him years ago. I hope you intended to do it now, said the Monkey King before turning into his adamantine staff form. Yes, today I intend to do what I should have done years ago, said Sarutobi before he ran at Orochimaru and engaging him in battle. Despite being the younger of the two ninja, Orochimaru was surprised by his old sensei's speed and strength when he was struck several times in the face and stomach. The Sannin leapt away before he summoned the legendary blade that was the Kusanagi sword with the help of a snake from his mouth. Don't look surprised, Sarutobi sensei. You have your weapon of choice, and I have mine, said Orochimaru. Began a contest of weapon skill that, the professor, intended on ending. With Naruto. Naruto ran quickly through Kohono King whatever got in his path, whether it was a sand ninja, sound ninja, and any other threat deemed necessary to destroy. Hey brat, where do you think you're going? Said Jiraiya, running beside him. To help the old man. What about you? Where were you? Said Naruto, hoping the man wasn't trying to peep at scared women in the hot spring. In truth, Jiraiya was, or at least that was half true when you consider the shadow clone jutsu in the hands of a super pervert. His clone did the peeping and took notes while the real him summoned his toads to do battle with the snakes and the invading ninja. No, I have more pride than that, said Jiraiya, only to feel that he was going to get struck by lightning later for only telling half the truth. Well, as long as you're here, I need a favor. I need you to summon Gamabunta to scare most of the remaining enemy ninja. If they see the Toad boss, they will think Sannin and they will either run or surrender, said Naruto, knowing that if the Sannin was as feared and infamous as the old pervert said he was, then it would be much easier on Kohono's ninja later down the road. Not a bad idea, kid. I'll get right on it. Afterwards you and me need to talk about some things, said Jiraiya, running off to head to a heavily infested sandout off sound-covered area. Sure thing. Ero Sennin, said Naruto, making the Toad Hermit nearly fall down in a faceplant at being called that during a battle. Damn that kid and his nickname for me. Just like his old man, thought Jiraiya before he set to work on doing what the boy asked of him. With Hinata and Shino had moved out of Kohono Stadium to expand their fighting elsewhere in need areas of Kohono. They were fighting not far from the stadium and were holding their own against the higher-ranked enemy forces. Hinata had already CS-pled 2 Chunin ninja from sand and had now wounded a sound Junin with her gentle fist after hitting the man in the shoulder, disabling his right arm for a time. So far so good, but I must not get overconfident, thought Hinata, dodging an attack made by the Junin with his left arm, as he held a kunai in it, trying to slash her to bits in a crazed wild fashion. Damn you, girl. When I knock you down, I'm going to carve out those eyes of yours, and if you are still alive after that, well, I may just see what else you've got, said the sound Junin, trying to shatter the girl's confidence with his threats, hoping to intimidate her. However, Hinata remained calm and focused, knowing that if she got scared now, all her hopes of proving she was truly strong in front of the others would be destroyed. True to herself, she dodged another wide attack and hit the sound Junin right in the chest, hitting his heart, thus ending his life instantly as it stopped, never to beat again. The only person who gets to touch me is Naruto-kun, asshole, thought Hinata before blushing at both what she just thought and the word she used as an afterthought within her thought. With Kakashi, the one-eyed Junin had felt the power from the urn as he fought the enemy ninja around him and wondered exactly caused such a force to be released. From his position he could not see anything since he was now outside the stadium after clearing of the enemy. It was only after he had sensed another chakra signature did his whole body freeze and his heart nearly stopped. No, it couldn't be. Arashi-sensei, thought Kakashi, confused, looking at the stadium, wondering if he was losing his mind before heading back to where he had previously gone to find out the truth for himself. He immediately headed towards the cage stands outside the barrier with several Anbu Black Ops watching with awe and fear. What's going on? What happened? Said a now sly, serious Kakashi, knowing that as a former Anbu captain he would get his answer right away. Hataki-san, you won't believe what we have seen, said a dog-masked Anbu ninja, as he started telling Kakashi everything they had seen and heard. What? Slade brought the 4th Hokage back to life, said Kakashi, nearly at a loss for words, looking at Slade and his old sensei beating the 2 previous cages of Konoha back while the 3rd was fighting Orochimaru in a battle of weapons. Yes, Slade-san said it was the power of the S, and the urn was generating so much chakra that even the barrier here was starting to crack under its strength. We would try to break it down, but when we tried to help Hokage-sama originally, the barrier incinerated one of our fellow Anbu, said an eagle-masked Anbu, not willing to try and break the barrier unless absolutely necessary. Inside the barrier, Sarutobi was holding his own despite his age, knowing that he could put his previous sins from the past to rest once and for all right here and now. Arashi and Slade were moving with perfect teamwork, fighting as one, driving the 2 deceased cages back towards the barrier wall with taijutsu. Hellfire Rasengan, said Slade, hitting the 2nd Hokage, knocking him into the 1st, knocking him back until they were 10 feet away from the barrier. Earth Style, Mudslide Jutsu, said Arashi before taking in a big breath and released mud from his mouth, sending it towards the 1st and 2nd Hokages, making them lose their balance further. The moment of incivility for the 2 was long enough for Slade to leap into the air and spin kick them both into the barrier wall. The 2 Uns ninja hit the barrier hard and were now slowly burning away, but could still move, but before they could, Slade and Arashi pinned them there before they dissolved into ashes. I hope they don't hold that against us when their souls enter heaven, said Arashi, looking at Slade, who looked just as impassive as ever. I wouldn't worry. It was either that or be Orochimaru's puppet. If anything, we did him a favor and helped give them each a mercy king, said Slade casually to his old friend. Yes, now to deal with Orochimaru, said Arashi before he and Slade turned to face the Sanin Orochimaru and the current Hokage of Konoha, that was Sarutobi. What they saw worried them. Orochimaru had gotten a lucky shot that had knocked the 3rd Hokage off guard, allowing the Sanin to plunge his Kusanagi sword into the older man's lower right side. Not lethal if treated right away, but if pushed any deeper, and the chances of survival would get slimmer. You cannot win Orochimaru. No matter what you do, immortality is something that you can never achieve, said the 3rd Hokage, trying to stop his former pupil from killing him. The 3rd's weapon, that was his adamantine staff that had been Enma, had turned back to his animal form and was being restrained by Orochimaru with his striking shadow snake, with a swarm of snakes coming out of the inside of his clothes left arm. Your words mean nothing to me now, for this is the end for you, Sarutobi-sensei. I hope that the afterlife is as fitting for you as you once described to me when I was still a good ninja, said a now laughing Orochimaru, hissing at Sarutobi, who struggled to keep the sword from digging in deeper. Orochimaru of Otogakure. Your head bleongs to me. Yelled a voice that could only have belonged to one Kazama Uzumaki Naruto. The boy flew forward, now covered in blue and orange reddish chakra, with the sword of the darkness flame activated in his left hand, with his arm stretched out in using a very powerful of the Gatetsu strike that was as terrifying as it was incredible to see. The tiles beneath him were flying everywhere as Naruto practically flew towards his enemy, that was Orochimaru. Mere seconds earlier, Naruto had seen the third in trouble as he reached the stadium roof and knew he had to hurry, or else the very person who had cared for him since the beginning of his life would be Leaping from his vantage point across from the cage stands of the stadium, the boy put all the power he currently could muster in such a short time into his attack. Present time. The attack itself crashed through a severely cracked part of the barrier, destroying it in its weakened state, completely shocking Kakashi, Sarutobi, the ANBU, Sound 4, and of course Orochimaru himself. The Sannin had little time to react, if any at all, as the sword covered in dark fire with a dragon's head at the tip of the sword was headed straight for his head. Cutting his loses, Orochimaru pulled Kusanagi out of Sarutobi and threw Enma away into Kakashi and the Anbu while trying to straighten out his sword. He knew that his only way to survive was to somehow block, deflect, and out off or counter Naruto's strike. He moved with all the speed he had, though it wasn't as fast as he usually was, due to the fact that his battle with Sarutobi had weakened him more than he would like to admit. His on-the-spot maneuver blocked Naruto's attack and kicked the boy away from him to prevent another attack. However, it cost Orochimaru greatly, as the dark flames from the sword had badly burned his arms to the point of not being used. Damn you, boy. I will have my revenge on Konoha. Kabuto, get me out of here and sound for our forces to fall back in retreat, said Orochimaru before a battered-looking Kabuto appeared, looking war wear himself, picking up his master's sword before helping him escape with the Sound 4. We should pursue, said an Anbu ninja wearing a bear mask, only to be stopped by the screams of pain from the third Hokage himself. No, the Hokage needs to get to the hospital. We'll get Orochimaru later, said Kakashi before signaling the Anbu to take the wounded Hokage to said destination. When the Anbu were gone, all that was left was Naruto, Slade, Kakashi, and the once deceased fourth Hokage. The once S-man of a Hokage had now turned to look at his former student with an unreadable expression on his face, making Kakashi sweat slightly, thinking he was hallucinating or dreaming this whole thing. He hoped to God he wasn't, or he would be pissed off when he woke up. Hello Kakashi. You've grown, said Arashi calmly, as if him being S for nearly 13 years and returning from beyond the grave was as simple as turning on a TV. Arashi-sensei. I don't. I, said Kakashi, wondering when did his mental ability to not form a proper sentence happened, only to be surprised that his old sensei had just interrupted him from finishing his attempt at speaking a full sentence. Shut up. I know all about what you did and have been doing to my son Hatake, said the now infuriated fourth Hokage, making Kakashi's eye widen in disbelief, since Arashi had never said his last name before, much less with such venom that it could kill a snake from within Anko's trench coat. What do you, said Kakashi, only to be interrupted again, turning the one-eyed Junin's hallucinated dream into his worst nightmare. You think I didn't see anything when I was Quite the opposite, my old student, and it didn't help that my wife's urn helped in filling in the gaps of showing me what Naruto saw and felt in the very beginning of his life. What were you thinking using your Chidori on him? Yelled Arashi at the end after he grabbed Kakashi by the T and lifted him up into the air. Meanwhile, Jiraiya, after hearing the yell of a familiar voice, came running at a speed that would have rivaled his old self in his younger years. When he saw his old student, the old super pervert thought he was going to be hit with at least 5 simultaneous heart attacks. Arashi is alive. How? Did Slade have something to do with this? I know he and the boy had been training, but to bring back the S into the living. No, there is more to it than that, thought Jiraiya, knowing he would have to ask the boy or Slade when the time came, seeing how he felt he couldn't keep his sanity if he tried to talk to his old student, who he had to remind himself several times, was supposed to be S. Then I find out you favor one student over the other, and even trying to have the said student that you favor cheat his way to becoming stronger by stealing jutsus with that blasted eye of yours that you told me you would remove when a replacement came up. You know that the Sharingan eyes are not healthy for anyone who does not have Uchiha blood in their veins and corrupts them. How many jutsus do you know, Kakashi, with that eye of yours? 100. 200. More. 600. Stop me if I reach the right number. 800. 1000. Kakashi Muz, 1000. You used that accursed eye of yours to copy 1000 jutsus that were not your own, said Arashi before throwing Kakashi onto the tiled roof as the silver-haired man was now gasping for breath at nearly having the life literally choked out of him. Sensei. Coughing, I'm sorry, it's just that coughing, I felt that I owed Obito since he gave me, coughing, his eye, said Kakashi, shocked that his surrogate father had nearly killed him. But what about to me, Hatake? What about to my son? Where were you when he was always being beaten by villagers on his birthday or the assassination attempts on his life when he was still an infant? Where were you when my son needed you the most? Said Arashi, forming a Rasengan in his right hand ready to strike depending on his student's answer. I didn't know until recently from a mission I had with my team to Wave Country. When I asked Sarutobi about it in secret, he said that the council ordered him to stay silent on the matter on the grounds your enemies would find and kill the boy. They had ordered the Hokage to put Naruto in an orphanage and give him his mother's maiden name that was Uzumaki. By that time the word of mouth had somehow spread about through Konoha on how Naruto was Slade's jailer and saw him as the demon himself. That's when all the abuse Naruto took from nearly everyone in the village started and forced the third to make an S-class law for the older generation to not tell the younger generation about Naruto holding Slade, said Kakashi, not once breaking contact with the giant of a man, in his opinion, that stood before and over him. I doubt that such a law helped if not made things worse, said Arashi, finding that though Sarutobi had the best of intentions, knew his old heart wasn't strong enough to do more for the boy. Yes, Sarutobi wanted to have Ninja, who respected your wishes, take him in from the orphanage, but the influential people in and outside of the council stopped that. Hyuga Hitome being one of them. She's sensei, said Kakashi before telling him about the incident with Hitome, the Hyuga clan elders, and the others he had secretly met several times to discuss how to kill the boy and the demon he held. There was no point in hiding it from his sensei, seeing how he had done so much to shame himself, his family, and above all of them his sensei. Well, it's probably better now that he hears it from Kakashi or me now rather than later, thought Slade, watching the whole thing unfold, mentally thanking Hikari's spirit in her urn for doing what she did. Kazama Arashi was lived and nearly lost control of his Rasengan because of it. The very people he had SD protecting couldn't even honor his wish. AS hero's wish at that, making the sins of this village even worse. I'll deal with you later, Kakashi, but for now I have to help remove any remaining forces dug into this place I once called home. But first I need to say hello to someone I haven't seen in nearly 13 years, said Arashi as he turned to face his son, who during this time could only stare at his father before he had unconsciously dropped his sword onto the tiled ground. Father, said Naruto, finding himself unable to speak at the moment, wondering if this was some crazy dream, and if so, how could he stop himself from waking up. Come here, son. Give your old man a hug, said Arashi, now 3 footsteps away from his pride and joy with tears in his eyes. Dad, yelled Naruto, tacking his father into a hug, nearly squeezing his father to a point the man's spinal cord nearly snapped, crying in his father's cage robes. It's all right, son. Let it out. There is no shame in crying right now, said Arashi while he mentally made a note to have a few choice words with all of the village council, its clan elders, and the villagers themselves about his son's treatment. After a moment Naruto stopped and looked at his father, knowing that when this was over they were going to have a nice long talk. He intended to look forward to that with great enthusiasm. Thanks, Dad. Now let's go kick some ass, said Naruto, making his right hand into a fist next to his head in a dramatic way. Hell yeah, said Arashi, letting go of his son, who after being freed from the embrace picked up his now without dark flame sword. Hells yeah, said Slade, joining, seeing how he was also technically part of the family and intended to be regardless of Arashi being brought back from the or not. Kakashi looked at the trio of a group and realized that this entire time he had been making all the wrong moves with all the wrong people. Never again will I make the stupid mistake of screwing up and dishonoring those close to me. Never again will I fail where I should have succeeded all those years ago. I will be Naruto's sensei and I will earn the right to be his sensei, starting with helping bring down those who would try and destroy both the father and son of the Kazama clan, thought Kakashi, knowing he would have to train hard again when he removed his Sharingan eye, crushed it in his hands, and then got his replacement. Konoha hours later. When the fighting was said and done, only 10% of Konoha was destroyed and less than a dozen ninja and or civilians had been killed in the fighting. The third Hokage was bedridden in the hospital and due to the injury of his wounds in addition to his old age had permanently pledged him from being a ninja any further. He had suffered damage to his right kidney and his lower intestine was scarred up as well from being speared with the legendary sword and needed to be healed by someone of great medical skill. Personally, Sarutobi didn't mind being bedridden despite his injuries, seeing as how he got to spend time with his grandson, who was just happy to see that he was alive. During his visit to the hospital, Konohamaru was told in great and to some extent exaggerated detail about what happened in the fight with Orochimaru by Naruto and Arashi. The story shocked Konohamaru at the fact that Slade was really the nine-tailed demon fox that was sealed inside Naruto. At first, Konohamaru was scared when he heard this, seeing how the demon lord was said to be the very definition of death itself aside from the death god, but got over it when he heard how the fourth and him were really good friends. He calmed down. Much to the boy's amusement, sadness, and horror of the events that had happened, he was forced by the adults in the hospital room with Sarutobi to not tell what he had heard to anyone else, even the other two core. Naturally, the boy agreed on the condition he could use Naruto's original move that was the seed jutsu on Ebisu and Iruka every once in a while. At first, Sarutobi was a little unsure, but Konohamaru promised he was only going to use it if and when he gets into a certain degree of trouble. With that being said, the deal was sealed and Konohamaru could not be more happier with the idea. Elsewhere in Konoha, Ebisu and Iruka felt a shiver go up their spine as the pervert senses in their heads tingled with a warning. It told them of danger to come, but from where and from whom they did not know, though the sense did say it was Naruto related, but the odd thing was not Naruto himself. The two didn't know whether to be relieved or to be terrified. They chose both. 3 days later, Hokage Tower, the Hokage's office. Kazama Arashi was not having a good day, seeing how he was put back in his office he had yet to break in the first time he took the position. He put himself in as a temporary one until another Hokage was found, finding he had gotten his bite at the proverbial apple at being Hokage. He needed to spend time with his son more and stop being the Hokage everyone wanted him to be when a particular subject arose just a day earlier in this office with some villagers and ninja in his, temporarily, office. Flashback: Hokage's office previous day. When word got out to the general public of Konoha that their once hero that was the fourth Hokage had returned somehow from the both villagers and ninja cheered at the news. Some of them said the demon should finally while others said the demon brat should now finally be trained, tamed, and be civilized amongst its human betters as well as its human superiors. They were quickly silenced in shock when their hero put a hole through one ninja's chest and blew him up with a Rasengan, and then a civilian with an explosive tagged kunai when the villager said why he was defending the QB brat. All right, you morons, listen up and listen good. I've been for nearly 13 years, but my soul was still intact and I could see everything that had happened during that time, including the abuse of one Uzumaki Naruto, said Arashi, getting a few cheers at the last part, thinking they had done the fourth a favor. That's what you wanted, right? I mean, you weakened the demon, so why not kill it when we had a chance? Said a villager, who was soon silenced by the loss of his head at the hands of Hiei before hiding in the shadows of the room, though he moved so fast no one saw him except Arashi, so many though he had done it. Idiots. I wanted Naruto to be considered a hero, and what do? You treat him as if he was one of Orochimaru's experiments. Had I known you would do that, I would have let QB run right through here and all of you, said Arashi, not wanting to tell them Slade was QB, or else a serious backlash would begin that he could not stop. That's not what the council told everyone, said one female ninja of Anbu rank with purple hair appearing before the fourth Hokage, having just arrived, silencing any words from the others. Really? What did they say exactly? Said the fourth Hokage, not liking where this was going, and from what this ninja before him was saying there was far more. They spoke to the other ninjas first so we would spread it amongst the villages. They told us that Naruto was QB turned into a child, and that Sandaime-sama only told us what he did because his old heart had gone soft from old age. That he could not kill a simple demon child, because he manipulated his body to look like a young boy version of you to sway his old heart, said the female Anbu. Thank you for that, Anbu. You are all dismissed. Take these SC to Rabiki and Anko so I can make an example out of them, said the fourth Hokage, sighing heavily before he sat down in his chair, wondering just how much of this could he take before he started to get gray hair. Flashback ended. After that incident, Arashi immediately called a meeting with the council, telling them he no longer wished to be Hokage, for they had desecrated the very village he loved with their arrogance, blinded hatred, and egos in thinking they could play God with people's lives. He said he would send his old sensei Jiraiya out with Naruto to find Tsunade, seeing how she could help heal Sarutobi and train the doctors to be better with her SKS. The council's, the older generation, response was as expected, with them in all yelling in pure outrage at his tone of voice, saying it was close to treason. They even went as far as to call him a demon lover for not killing the boy now when he had a chance to. When Arashi flared his chakra in rage at them, telling them that demon was his son and that all of them had been acting along the lines of treason themselves, they shrunk back in their seats at the strength of his power. With the meeting adjourned, the now temporarily reinstated fourth Hokage went to his temporary office to speak to his temporary advisor, that was the super pervert. Arashi, I know you want me to find Tsunade, but I don't think it will be that easy. Remember, her gambling debts have made her go mobile ever since her kid and boyfriend Dan SD all those years ago, said Jiraiya, knowing how the woman acted better than anyone in the room. Is that all? Or is it the fact that she said she would your family jewels to powder if you ever saw her again to bring her back? Said Arashi with a small smile on his face as his old sensei paled at the remembrance of those words. That too, but that was my second reason. Couldn't you get someone like Anko, Asuma, Kurenai, or even yourself to go while Sarutobi takes over in your stead? Said Jiraiya, hoping to not have his second reason, secretly his first, not come true, and if he were to go find her. Nice try, Jiraiya, but I need you to do it. Your spy network is the only way to find and make contact with her. Plus, if anyone else goes with you that is Junin or higher, she may suspect that she is being hunted, making things worse. That's why my son Naruto along with Slade will go with you to find and bring her here. When she gets back, I will have her use the Chunin exams to promote him to Chunin along with those who qualified to be one as well, seeing how they're long overdue for it after what had happened with the Sandout off-sound invasion, said Arashi before his son came in, hearing only the last part about find the third member of the legendary three. While we're gone, Dad, I was wondering if you could have Hyuga Hitome's body dug up and exhumed for examination, with the consent of Hiashi, of course, said Naruto, making his father curious and shocking the Toad Hermit. Why? Said Arashi, while Jiraiya was wondering the same thing. No one knows how she SD, Dad, and I think it was foul play on the Hyuga clan elders, seeing how Hitome opposed them and wanted to adopt me years ago. I feel we owe her for what she tried to do for me when I had no one but the old man, who was always tied up with paperwork given to him by the council. Not to mention what the Hyuga clan elders forced her to do to me when I was younger with a seal placed on my N, said Naruto, rubbing the back of his N, as did Arashi with his remembering the pain he felt when he had his removed. Alright, I'll talk to Hiashi, though I doubt he will be thrilled and will possibly put up a fight about it at first. Give me a heads up about when you expect to return with Tsunade, and I'll have her body exhumed for examination on the day she gets back so she can look at it right away without it being tampered with, said Arashi, wondering how in the hell he was going to explain this to his old teammate. Looks like we're off then. I take this as an A to S rank mission depending on what happens when finding her, said Jiraiya, heading towards the window to leap out of, seeing how he hated doors. Yep. I'll have the remaining Genins der AD ranked mission of cleaning up her old home up under Kurenai's supervision. The last thing I need is one of the boys to do something both stupid and perverted, making me have to sign death certificates so soon, said a now smiling Arashi, while Jiraiya paled, remembering how he had been beaten nearly to death by Tsunade when he was caught going through her clothing drawers to see if her bra size was as big as he thought, or rather suspected it was, since he had originally assumed she had been stuffing them to make her seem more attractive. He had been CS pled and put under critical condition for 3 months, and that was after he got out of the hospital. You'll leave tomorrow, so I'm giving you all the rest of the day off. No doubt that Snake in the Grass Orochimaru will want to get his arms fixed, and Tsunade is the only one who has a remote possible chance of doing it. Even Kabuto can't do it since his knowledge on medical history is not as good as hers is, said Arashi, looking at the boy's file earlier combined with what the spy's foster father had told him, after a meeting with Ibiki, of course. Naruto and Jiraiya nodded, while Slade, who was inside Naruto in his sellout of home, nodded as well while staring at the urn. He had placed in a little tribute area with candles around it and a picture of Hikari over the urn to show his respect for her. Naruto, I need some time with Kurenai and tell her the news. I'll see you tomorrow, thought Slade, leaving his chambers to the love of his life. Okay kid, I'll see you at the East Gate 8 a.m. sharp, said Jiraiya before jumping out the window for some researching for his next book. Naruto left via Foxfire teleportation jutsu, and shortly after that one Hitaki Kakashi came into the room, his face crestfallen like it had been when Obito or Arashi had SD. Kakashi, to what do I owe the pleasure of you being in my office? Said Arashi, feeling the man had a lot of redeeming to do. I've been thinking these past few days, I mean Hokage-sama, and I feel that the only way to make up for my misgiving to Naruto is to help train him in what I can. I still need to teach Sasuke with the Sharingan, but I won't devote all my time to him like I did before, said Kakashi, hoping such an idea would help him show he wanted to make up for past misgivings. Sorry, but Naruto is leaving tomorrow with Jiraiya to find Tsunade so she can be the 5th Hokage. I'm sick of this job because of the council and the people of this village. You all have become so arrogant and stupid that even I can't fix the problem. What this village needs is woman's touch, and what better one than Tsunade, since she can handle this as if arrogance was a disease, and if she saw what this place had become, would most likely do that, said the 4th Hokage, signing some paperwork, wondering how he had gotten used to this in the first place when he originally took the TLE. But if he leaves, I can't teach him all that I learned. I already taught Sasuke my Chidori so he could use it later when he fought Gaara. I want to at least teach that to Naruto at the very least before he leaves to find her, said Kakashi, hating the fact that he was arguing with his sensei who could have thrown him through the wall to the hospital. No, I don't need him learning a jutsu that is a carbon copy knockoff design of my own Rasengan. He knows all he needs to know and will learn more when the time comes to add them to his memory for future use. If you want to redeem yourself, you can start by getting a scroll and writing all the jutsus you taught Sasuke on it. It will be a small, but noticeable spot on your record that you at least tried to fix the problem, said the 4th, not looking up from his pile of paperwork. I'll get right on that, said Kakashi, heading towards the doorway, but was stopped by a sigh from his sensei. If I find any of the jutsus you taught Sasuke interesting, I'll pass them on to Naruto to learn in the future, said the 4th Hokage, knowing that way Kakashi somehow was able to attribute to his students' development. Yuhi residence. Kurenai was happy things had settled in the village once more, and that the reconstruction of the damaged part of Konoha would be fixed in a few more days. No doubt a genin team would be placed in charge of helping with the effort, though the teams would have to be reorganized on account of the fact that several genin from the Rookie 9 had now become chunin, from what she heard from one of the judges. One of mine, one from Asuma, and one from Kakashi, thought Kurenai, though she was more than happy that it had been Naruto who was the one to advance. It was just the sensei of the said student that made her angry with his tardiness, perverted book, and the fact he had never taken things seriously unless he absolutely had to. Sighing, Kurenai got up to head out when she heard a polite knock at the door, and when she opened the door she found herself face to face with Slade, who smiled at her, making her blush. How does she know he's smiling? Because he's not wearing his mask. Hello Kure-chan, I missed you so, said Slade, making the genjutsu mistress pass out in a faint similar to Hinata. Just like Hinata. I wonder if those two are secretly related, thought Slade, catching her before she hit the ground and put her on her sofa so she could recuperate. When she did, Kurenai nearly fainted when she saw Slade without his usual intimidating metal mask. Slade-kun, said Kurenai, grabbing onto him with a great big hug. I'm glad to see you too, said Slade, joining her in the hug before removing himself from it, though he hated doing so. Come to ask me on another date, said Kurenai mischievously at him, hoping he would act the same as her. His face turned to seriousness, however, and he sighed slightly, knowing he more than ever wanted another date with the woman. Sorry, but I can't. I have to go on a mission to help Jiraiya-san and Naruto find Tsunade to bring her back. Arashi wants her here so she can be the 5th Hokage, said Slade with his eye downcast, making Kurenai feel just as depressed as him hearing the news. How long will you be gone? Said Kurenai, knowing Tsunade could be anywhere in any of the elemental countries. A week at the most. The one thing that Super Pervert is good for is his spy network to help us find her. She was last spotted on the borders of Fire Country, but that was over a week ago and the trail recently got cold. I leave with the others tomorrow morning, but the rest of this day I have off, said Slade with his going from depressed to mischievous in less than a second. Kurenai smiled mischievously as well knowing what he was implying. Well, if you ask me, I would spend it with someone very close to you, said Kurenai, wrapping one her legs around Slade Own while moving even closer to him. You clever vixen you. I knew I liked you for all the right reasons, my little Kure-chan, said Slade, giving the woman a passionate and loving kiss that Kurenai returned with just as equal enthusiasm. With Naruto next day 7:45 a.m. Naruto was gearing up for travel when Haku knocked before entering his room to speak with him. Hello Haku-chan, to what do I owe you for the pleasure of this visit? Said a grinning Naruto, making Haku blush at his words as they could mean so many things. I hear you are going to find Tsunade to bring back to the village. Is that correct? Said Haku, walking towards him slowly before stopping when she was halfway towards him. Yes. My father is done being the Hokage of this village. He has seen what the village has become without him. It has become rotten from the inside out and he needs Tsunade to be the one to cure it, since she'll treat it like a medical disease. Plus it's pretty obvious that the Snake-san and Orochimaru will seek her out as well to fix the arms I made useless. I am going to K him or find Tsunade before that ever happens, said Naruto, sealing his traveling back up before turning to her and putting it behind his back. Let me go with you, said Haku with devotion in her eyes to him, knowing she could help him if need be. Thanks, but no thanks. The mission was given to me, Jiraiya, and Slade to accomplish. No more and no less. Besides, someone has to help Hinata keep the other girls in line from killing each other over me. I need a tactical planner like you to keep them busy so they don't start going crazy while I'm away, said Naruto, laughing at her now blushing face, knowing what he just said was probably true. Alright, I guess I'll stay, but I won't like it, said Haku, pouting at him like she had been slightly insulted, making Naruto laugh even more. Besides, while I'm gone you and the others can get to know each other better as you talk about me in a group. You can tell each others about your wildest fantasies you experience in your dreams that involve me, said Naruto mischievously, all the while making Haku blush even darker, remembering some of her more passionate dreams with the boy. Naruto-kun. That was mean, said Haku, pouting once more with a beet red face before he punched him lightly on the shoulder, though since he was so strong he probably didn't feel it. Judging from your blush, I would think you would enjoy retelling your dreams to one of the others. Though I would imagine you would have them tell their own first to give you new ideas and fantasies, said Naruto, making Haku blush even more as she felt that was another possible situation. Naruto-kun, about the harem, said Haku, but before she could say anything further she was silenced by the one thing that all of the women that loved Naruto wanted above all things, a kiss right on the lips. After about a good 2 to 3 minutes they broke apart and Haku was in a trance in a way of one would think she had found the way to enlightenment. I know. Talk it over with the others though when I'm gone so you can all work things out. I want to know what you all thought up when I get back with Tsunade. Don't tell Tenten that until after I leave, or else she'll try to come along somehow. She's Tsunade-san's biggest fan after all, said Naruto before walking off, leaving a still dazed Haku in Naruto's room while her mind was still processing the kiss she had received and only half heard Naruto's words. Good, kiss her. Very good, kiss her, thought Haku before her mind shut down entirely and she fainted onto Naruto's bed. She would later wake up to see an accusing eyebrow from Zabuza, Arashi, and Hinata, who was under a retaining jutsu to keep her from wailing on the girl. Haku, I think you have some explaining to do, said Zabuza, his eyebrow twitching while wondering to be proud of Haku or to scold her, if she did what he thought she did. Eep, said Haku, as she blushed anew, freed while Hinata was nearly free from the jutsu that held her down, ready to strike Haku for getting Naruto first. Well, we're waiting. What do you have to say for yourself? Oh, and be mindful there is a time limit, said Zabuza, pointing to Hinata, who only need her right arm and left leg free before she could attack. In my defense I would like to say that Naruto is a good kisser, said Haku before she ran for her life as Hinata came running at her, fully intent to CSPLE her. You think we should tell Hinata that Naruto told us she fainted from the kiss and that we knew nothing happened that she thinks happened? Said Arashi in the now nearly empty room with Zabuza. Maybe, but look at it this way. Haku needs to get good exercise when not being trained by Matogai or his student that is also mine. What better motivation to run than being chased by another love-smitten woman that cares for Naruto? Said Zabuza, who started laughing at that fact and that Haku was getting better training in the form of speed from Hinata chasing her than from being trained with Guy and Lee. You frighten me sometimes, Zabuza. Just keep an eye on them so they don't K each other just yet. The last thing I need is for my son to come home and find the women he loves king each other, said Arashi, remembering how Hikari was very possessive of him when some of the more bolder women offered to help bear his children when he became Hokage. They all got a beating worse than Jiraiya did when Tsunade caught him peeping at her in the springs when he was still a little genin in training. That will be all for this video. Be sure to like, subscribe, share, and comment down below for more videos. Goodbye.